each give a little information about us as artists and what we do. And for me, I'm Jen Clark, by the way, and I started out really young, you know, the oil paint by number. I was good. And, you know, of course, trying to draw and learn how to do those things. So I've really been interested in art my whole life, and always been very outdoorsy and wanting to be out and about, whether it's, you know, in the woods, by the lake, at the river, all that kind of stuff. And grew up in Central Oregon, and we rode our horses up all over to Broken Top, Swale, and did all kinds of things that really made me appreciate being out there. And so, of course, I wanted to draw it, I wanted to paint it, and the more, you know, the more you do, the more you see. You don't really know what a tree looks like till you try to draw one. And then you realize you don't know what a tree looks like. So, basically, I paint from photos. I am not tough about the wind blowing and the bugs getting in your paint and all the things that you don't realize. So if you see someone painting at the seashore in the sand, that is bad. You know, at least with a wind and you've got grit everywhere. But they're brave. And they, I don't know how they do it. I think it's just for the photo, you know, to get taken. But anyway, I love the outdoors, and you can usually see that in what I paint, which is where there's, you know, rocks, water, trees, forests, all that kind of stuff. So that's what I really like, and tend to take pictures of and paint. Anyway, Linda and I have been doing some painting out on location, which is a new experience because that's not easy either. You've got wind, you've got bugs, you've got flies, and if it's too hot, your paint dries right away. And so it's not always possible to sit in the shade while you are working, because that's not the view you want. So we do go out and take pictures, all of us, a lot of pictures. But anyway, that's my story.
I'm Denise Elizabeth Stone. I am so delighted to see you all here tonight. Thank you so much for coming. So, give a little bit of background about myself, and I am going to use notes. So, my background is in teaching and psychotherapy, and but I was always interested in color and shapes and what light looked like and what color shadows were and that kind of thing. So I was already kind of moving toward the art end of things, but I brought some of the psychotherapy stuff with me too, and so I do a lot of different kinds of things that have kind of some symbolism sometimes, and a different view of something sometimes. I started taking watercolor classes with Jan when we first moved here. One of the first things Jan said to me is, well, she's not afraid of color. I wasn't clear whether that was a good thing or not. But it's kind of persisted. So Jan and I took a Batik, I've been asked to say a little bit about Batik Convergence. Jan and I took a Batik watercolor class together, and thought, in a one-day class, we thought, this is kind of cool, and maybe we could try it again sometime together. Well, a couple of months later we did. We called Sue Orlaske, who had organized the class. She joined us. Linda joined us. Linda had wanted to go to the class and wasn't able to. So the four of us started experimenting with this new technique, Batik watercolor. Had a great time. And then we started painting together and started showing together. And then we were Batik Convergence, and that's pretty much how we all got together and stayed together. It's been kind of tough for us after Sue passed because it just didn't feel the same. And this is our first show together since Sue. and so I'm really happy to be here at this time. It was like, I tell you, I was just kind of beginning, and it was like being dropped in a master class. It was the most amazing thing. I was so fortunate. And I feel like their influence has really stuck with me. Sue had these bold colors and a way with doing color that was really different from anyone I'd ever seen before. And I was really influenced by that. I would watch Jan. Jan could look at a tree and start drawing it, and just like, it looked like the tree. And I thought, this is the most amazing thing. So Jan's figurative drawing and mastery of technique was just amazing. And then Linda would start painting something, and she'd have this loose style, and she'd be holding her brush in this funny way, and all of a sudden there was this gorgeous painting. It was just so much fun to watch how everybody did things, and I felt like I kind of sucked all of that up some, absorbed it to some degree. One of the questions I've sometimes asked is, how do I get from an idea to a finished piece? So I thought I would talk a little bit about that for me. And the first thing to say is that I like shapes, and I like colors, and I like paint, and I'm kind of nerdy, and I like to experiment with all of it. I like stories and symbolism, and somehow whenever I'm painting, all of that kind of comes through the brush. It just kind of flows out of the brush. That's not easy. And it doesn't work the first time, and it doesn't work the second time, and it may not work the fifth time, but the sixth time I have got it nailed. And so a lot of what I do it over and over, just because, well, one, it's just kind of fun to watch the paint move around. And then I get it the way I like it. And that's kind of how I move within a painting. And so I'm kind of, it's sort of like a partnership between me and the paper and the wax and the brush and all of that. So it's pretty fun. If you want to come paint with me sometime, I'd love that. So I thought I'd tell you about some of the pieces that I have in this show and what start to finish on that was. So I have one painting, it's somewhere around in the corner there. It's called Sing Joy, and that one was only planned as far as the color was concerned, and I kind of just started dropping color on the paper until I decided I would stop and then see where the paint went, because the paint continues to move while, after I stop putting some on. Mm-hmm. And so that was the extent of planning on that one, and the important part was just stopping in time. Sometimes stopping is the hardest thing. There's another one around here called Map of a Dream. It's one of the batiks, and it's the same kind of thing. I just took the colors and started putting the colors on, watching what it did on the paper. It's that long right there. Watching what it did on the paper, and then stopped. Thank goodness, at the right time. Yay. Sometimes I will start putting paint and shapes and stuff on paper and kind of experimenting, and then I'll get to some point and decide I'm going to put something on that. So this one here with the yellow trees in the center, mm-hmm. that was that. So the background was all done before I started putting the trees on, because I was just kind of playing with where the paint would go. And
when you said the background is all done, were those stamped on, or was it thick paint that you pressed something into?
It's several things. Well, so I usually use the bubble wrap. So some of that is bubble wrap, and then other shapes. There are other shapes in there as well, and some of that is cheesecloth. So I just kind of experiment with how that's going to, what color it's going to be. Mm-hmm. And then that's what it comes out to be. Mm-hmm. And so then I put the trees on. And same with the pelicans that are here. I just start putting color on and putting some shapes on, and then decide, okay, birds. That's one of my favorite things, birds. And then lastly, I do actually plan some things. My challenge collage over here, we did these collages together. And that one I kind of planned, but then I redid it several times, and I did it over and over. It's probably about this thick, by now, because I kept putting something on top. Oh, that's not working. Take that off. And so sometimes I do go ahead and plan actually finish something similar to what I planned. So that's kind of how I get from one point to the other on doing a painting, collage, art piece, whatever it is. So.
Where I grew up. I've always had an interest in art. I remember as a very young child sitting at the table while my parents and my grandparents and my uncles played pinochle, and I sat with a sketchbook trying to draw their hands and the cards, and I never could figure out how to draw hands. So growing up in Burns in the 50s and 60s was special. We could roam and explore the desert and forests, fishing and hunting and exploring old homesteads. So you can see that Eastern Oregon had become a piece of my soul. The sounds, the colors, the textures, and the smell are all part of me. I taught high school and grade school at Union and later taught at Ackerman up on the Eastern Oregon College campus. Later I began teaching as an artist in education and taught there for nearly 20 years. I taught until my health caused me to stop. I am proud of those years. I have many fond memories of the rural schools and the home stays. What fun. Imagine staying in Diamond, Oregon, or French Glen, teaching a school with only 9 students, and doing this for more than 20 years. I remember one fond memory I have is my homestay in Diamond was staying in a little teacherage back behind the school, and behind there was nothing but just cattle, and they were it was spring, and the cattle were just having their calves. And I remember watching one cow one morning. She started to have her calf, and that evening when I came home, she was still in the same place, still having trouble. And I've never seen anything like that before. So I got in my car and I tried to find some ranch house where I could at least get some kind of help. And that is one memory that stuck with me, is that. And then at the very same time, there were cranes coming in to nest. And so I'd wake up every morning and hear those cranes in Diamond. Later, I admired a painting out of the Lao Valley Festival of Arts. I was standing looking at his painting, and he walked up to me and he put his arm around me and he said, "Thank you." He said, "You were my teacher as an artist in residence." And he said, "I won an award." And this sort of thing has happened to me more than once, where someone will recognize me from those days, but I don't recognize them at all. I cannot talk about my art or myself without talking about my influences and my college professors, all of them. Judd Kane, who saved me on registration day, mentored me through my college years. He taught me to work with clay. Later told me he always thought I was going to be a potter. Maybe it's not too late. Tom Diamond made sure I signed up for all the right classes, taught me to work with glass. Ian Gatley, he taught me to draw. Don Gray, he taught me to draw more. Imagine trying to draw the back of an object while you're looking at the front. All the workshops I took at the Art in the Mountains, and Jan's taken those too. The Rendezvous, Big Timber, with Jessica Zemsky and Jack Hine in Montana. There I learned to draw moving water, so many workshops. I must mention the nearly 50 years of glass windows, or 50 stained glass windows I've created for churches in and around Eastern Oregon. So many churches filled with my beautiful windows. All the windows in the Methodist Church in Halfway. All the windows in the Methodist Church in Richmond, Oregon. 2 windows in a church in Caldwell, Idaho, and many, many more. As you can see, my work is very recognizable. I work loose, I work fast, and I always have. Well, for a while I painted florals, and many of you remember those years of my life when I painted birds and flowers and portraits. And I learned how to do a lot of detail work. I will finish by talking about my challenge piece that's over there. The 3 of us decided to try a challenge collage. Jan put it together. She gave us parameters, a guide, size, etc. I worked the sky at least 6 times in mind, layering papers, changing my mind over and over. It became an obsession. I changed the sky so many times. I don't know if this is the one I like the best or not. I still have those pictures on my camera, so I can go back. Once it was orange, and I'm almost, I don't know. Anyway, it became very personal to me after I worked on it so much, because I think the photograph is one I took. And that place is a place I know, and it's a place that speaks to me, I guess. So pretty soon there was a barn in it, and then there was a bird, and then there's other images that I've got in there. So I know that it's got to be at least half an inch thick. So thick. When I took it and had it framed, the framer says, "Oh, I've got to show the edges so people know how this all went together." And lastly, I just want to thank you all for coming. It's been really a wonderful evening.